Now I'm talking to a very special artist from the Netherlands, Maaike Hartjes. Welcome.
Hallo, 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 guten Tag.
We're doing this in English. We could do it in Dutch, but our audience in Germany would probably not get most of it. And maybe some people in the Netherlands are interested in our programming as well. So we're doing it in English. This way, we don't need any subtitles or translations. Yeah, I think we can do it just as well in English. I'm very happy that I can talk to you from Germany to the Netherlands. I'm reaching
Yeah,
you at home, I guess.
yeah, I'm here in Amsterdam. Yeah, at my house. This is my working space where I'm sitting now.
Mhm. And we can see there a character that's very,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
or
me.
two characters even.
Oh yeah, that's somebody. It's a cross stitch. A fan made it for me.
Oh, very
It's
nice.
really special. Yeah, but I drew this one myself. But
Mhm.
this is much nicer.
Yeah, and both are actually you yourself as
Yes,
a comic character.
yes, a very simple one.
Mhm. Basically, this character, you, in some way or another, always comes up in your books and in your work, right?
Yeah, it's actually I when I started drawing comics at kindergarten, I already started drawing about myself. I first started drawing about a fictional character, a princess, but then slowly the princess turned into myself, and she went, just started doing very normal things like going to the pool or camping. Yeah, so somehow I always wanted to tell stories. Yeah, the things that happened in my brain or that happened in real life. That's always been my inspiration.
Mhm. Is that why this character still looks kind of simple? I don't mean this in a derogatory way, of
Oh,
course. Has it remained basically the same over all these years?
oh yeah. Oh, good question. It has. Yeah, I realize now. Yeah, the first character I drew as a 5-year-old child looked a lot like the character I'm drawing today. That's true. And I've switched a lot between styles over the years. I've drawn in a realistic style as well, but somehow I still go back to a very simplified version. And it feels like a kind of handwriting because I want to tell stories, and I'm looking for the most simple way, the most a way that works. And I don't want to like show off beautiful drawings. I just want to tell a story. So that's
Mhm.
how I get to a very simple kind of way of drawing and characters.
I see. Only the hair has changed when I look at the two characters behind you.
I have corona hair. I need to go to the hairdresser. I'm putting it in a bun. And so that's yeah. When I started drawing my latest book, Burnout Diary, I had a bun. So I started drawing myself with a bun. And before I had just let my hair go down. And so that's the only thing that sometimes changes.
I see. So even in this very simplistic style of yours, you can see yourself growing up somehow?
Mm, Yeah, no, yeah, I don't know. Maybe only the hairstyle.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I think, yeah, I just no. It's that's every. I mean, the character is so simple. It doesn't even have any shape. You can't see if it's fat or thin, or it's very gender neutral even. So yeah, it's just a character, and maybe it's how I feel inside, and so it doesn't really matter if I change from the outside, except for my hair, but it's how I feel inside, I think.
Mhm. When you're saying that it's kind of a gender, maybe even a genderless character or a character that's very maybe adaptable, is is that why a lot of people can relate to what you are drawing about? Did you get have you gotten any reactions from readers?
For my latest book, I
Mhm.
got a lot of reactions, and it was really special because My previous comics were also, they were diary style. They were, well, quite relatable, but they were more meant to be funny. And people always like, oh, I can relate to it and it's so nice. But with my burnout diary, the kind of reactions I got from there, they were so special. And so many people really, yeah, they really resonated with them, I think. I mean, if you've had a burnout or know people who've had a burnout, it's even more relatable. And
Hmm.
yeah, that's really special. That's, and I don't know, I think the character, the simple design can help a little bit.
Hmm.
um yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I just draw, and somehow it comes across to a lot of people, and yeah,
Hmm.
that's really special. Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about your book. This is the Burnout Diary. I think it's been translated into English and German.
Well,
Is
I
that
actually I
true?
made it in English, so
Hmm.
there is an English translation, but it hasn't been published yet. I'm still
I
looking
see.
for a publisher. Yeah, I
Hmm.
really was hoping that I'd find one by now, but
Hmm.
hopefully in the future or soon. But it's been translated to German,
Hmm.
and it's in Dutch, of course.
Yeah, I see. Um, uh, let's talk about your whole body of work, but let's maybe start with this one. You've been drawing autobiographical comic strips for a long time.
Mhm.
Um, is it fair to say that this is the most personal or the deepest one that you've
Yeah,
been working on?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, because my previous books, they were either travel diaries. I drew a few of those, and they were comics that I published in a magazine. So that's when you really start. That's, yeah. I told little stories that were meant to be funny, and this is my diary. And when I did draw it, well, I the first books I almost forgot about those, but the first books they've been out of print for a long time. But I've also published two books that were really my diary, and I was drawing
Hmm.
them, and I wasn't really I wasn't really thinking about publishing them at the time, so they might be more personal, but they were just about my daily life. So the subject of the burnout is
Hmm.
more personal as well. But when I drew it, I was already thinking about publishing it, and yeah,
I
publishing
see.
it online, not in a book. I never expected it to be a real paper book. I just thought, okay, I'll throw it online, and so, but I still try to make it personal. Yeah, that's how I draw, and then I don't really censor myself that much. I draw, and then later I decide if I want to publish it or not.
How painful is it to draw and write about your own burnout experience?
No, yeah, no, it was. I started the diary because at the time I didn't know I had a burnout, and I just wanted to motivate myself and draw comics about my life. And then, like 2 weeks later or so, I found out I had a burnout, and so the diary that I started became a burnout diary. But it was really helpful at the time. Every day I would sit down, like here at my desk, and I would make a drawing on one page or a few pages about what happened that day and how I was feeling. And it was really nice to do that every day. And you don't do anything when you have a burnout. You can't do anything, and you feel so worthless. So at least I would have made another page. So that really helped me. So
Hmm.
it wasn't painful. It's never painful to draw autobiographical comics to me.
That's interesting. But isn't it ironic that you were experiencing a burnout from working too much, not only on books, but also your other
Yeah.
projects, your drawings for companies, for
Hmm.
example?
Yeah.
Isn't it ironic that you were burnt out from that, but then
Well,
making a book
I
out of
know.
it and
Yeah,
with
I
this?
think about it later. And like, okay, I had a burnout. I made a book of 300 pages. What? But the working for clients was really stressful, and was my own personal thing. So I could just draw, and there was no stress, and that made a world of difference to me. And some people have really bad burnouts and they can't even, in the first month I couldn't draw either. That's because that you almost skip it in the book because it's just not in the book because I couldn't draw. But after about a month, I was able to draw. And yeah, then it just started very slowly. It was a little bit stressful at the first, but at a certain point, it didn't give me much stress, so I was still able to draw a little. And I draw really fast, so there was something, and every day I would just sit down for half an hour or so, or maybe an hour, maybe less, and that was all I did that whole day. So yeah, and if you just do that for half a year every day, then you still have a book. But
I see.
yeah, I also think like, what, how, why, and that was the point also, that I still had this idea in my head, like, oh, I have to work, I have to do this. And only later I thought, like, why was I even doing, why was I doing that? I should have just done nothing. But I was still in that mindset of, I have to work, I have to work. So I still worked. And I only lost that much later maybe after the burnout, that feeling of, oh, I have to, I could keep some kind of distance to it.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I think we're not giving too much away when we're talking about how you overcame your burnout. Otherwise, it might have been pointless to make a book out of that. It's been probably, I don't know, 1 or 2 years that you're over with this burnout. How are you
Oh, no,
feeling
5 years
today?
already. It was
5 years
yeah,
already.
yeah, yeah. It was 2014 that it started, and
Hmm.
2015 when I sort of was over
Hmm.
it. Yeah, so
I
but it took
see.
a few years before the book was published.
I see. So there's enough distance for yourself.
Yeah, but it's also it hasn't been a painful experience to me, because
Hmm.
I learned so much from that period in my life, that I look back very happily to that moment. Yeah, people always like, "Oh, don't you? Isn't it painful to talk about it?"
Hmm.
No, I think it's. I really look back at it as a very positive, very positive moment period in my
Hmm.
life. Yeah.
That's interesting, and maybe that's why it gives other people reading it strength as well. But I
Yeah,
must
I hope.
say, when I first read it, I um, got a little bit frightened at first because there is so much in it that you can, like when you observe yourself, you can find hints of burnout in some way or another in your own
Okay.
life when you're
Yeah.
reading it.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
the reactions you got, you mentioned them already a little bit. Were they all positive, or did you frighten people with it as well?
No, no. I think I also there were a few people who read it and who did not have a burnout, but they were
Hmm.
very close to a burnout. Maybe like you. I don't know. um, that yeah. Then it can be a warning. If you
Yeah.
recognize those things, and I think it's very common to feel like that, especially if you are a little bit ambitious, if you want to achieve things, you want to push yourself further, and that those are also very positive aspects. The positive threats. Yeah. Um, I lose my trail of thoughts. Well,
Hmm.
um, but because there are also I believe there's also a lot of positive things about burnout. I mean, the burnout is bad. You've pushed yourself too far, but it's always good to push yourself a little bit, to achieve more, to not just not relax too much. There are some good sides to it as well. You just have to make sure that it doesn't get out of hand,
Hmm.
and look after yourself more. That's, I think, the to realize that your health and just your life is very important as well, not just your work. and that there's value in there as well. That's the most important thing. And
Mm.
if you can still balance it, if you notice like, oh, okay, I work too hard, but my work is really important. I mean, work can be really, my work is still very important to me, and I still push myself. But now I know when I'm like, okay, I'll get into the danger zone. I have to take care of myself, and then it's more easy for me to say no now. So
Hmm.
yeah, I hope also that if people read my book, and if they didn't have a burnout yet, they can learn from it and know how to stop themselves from getting one.
Hmm. I see. So it can not only be comforting, but also a warning of sorts.
Yeah, yeah, I
So
hope.
there's something in it for everyone, I guess. Um, I'm interested in how you did it technically, because when we look at some images, this is, for example, an image of your character, and it's based on a map,
Hmm.
basically. It looks a lot like a sort of collage
Yeah,
technique. How did you practically work with it? Was it literally like pasting and
yeah,
cutting, or how did
yeah.
you do it?
Yeah, it's all analog. I
Hmm.
scanned it later on and I did translation, but the drawings itself are, it's all made just with paper. And yeah, look, I can maybe see like here. Is it,
Ah,
here are, oh, there's a lot of
I see.
boxes with paper. Oh,
Wow.
even more. Oh,
This is a very
okay.
exclusive impression that we're getting here.
Oh,
So this whole situation has its advantages. We can have a look into your work.
yes, I have. I'm really sure
I
this.
see.
Just so I have so much paper and washi tape, and I already started collecting that. And yeah, that was also that. Um, I was collecting collage things and I didn't really use it. But then I had a burnout and I was like, okay, I have to motivate myself, just get back to work and let's do something with collage. So that's when I started drawing that way and
I
using
see.
it all. And somehow then, I think I hate the first pages that I made because they were really,
Really?
they were such a mess. And yeah, for a long time I was like, okay, this whole book is a mess. So that's why I just planned to put it online, and I was really surprised when I showed it to some publishers, and they were really like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" I was like, "Oh, really?"
Hmm.
Because I really felt I had tried a new style, and I felt it was just a huge mess. But yeah, somehow people liked it. So yeah,
Hmm.
but it was really trial and error, and just doing something to motivate myself.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I see. I must say I actually liked the first pages because they sort of they got me they caught me with your more cartoonish approach that I knew already,
yeah,
and then it got more and more collage style along the way. And for example, you're describing a holiday with your
yeah.
boyfriend, I think
Yeah,
in
in Germany.
Bavaria, and then you're even pasting like tea bags and
Yeah.
everything. So
Was
are
this
these
I'm wondering, how was this for you as German to see this and suddenly all see all these German things? Because for me
very,
it's kind of exotic, like, oh, I'm going on a holiday and
yeah,
pasting all my German things. But for you it's very normal.
yeah, but
That's fun.
It's very Bavarian.
Yes.
So so in
Yeah.
that regard, it's kind of funny for us too. And of course, there's a lot of things that you can recognize, and it's Bavaria, so it's all about sausages and mountains and
Yes. Oh my god, so many sausages.
yeah, and
Yeah.
there's one thing I noticed. There is like Slovenian postal stamps or something all over the
Oh
place.
yeah.
I think like here, for
Yeah.
example.
Well,
What's up with that?
yeah, but actually it's stickers, and I think they bought them in Korea, but they're
Uh-huh.
just nice. I think they're mostly Czech designs, maybe. They're
Hmm.
just a retro style stickers. So yeah, it's
Ah.
just something. Yeah, so it's quite random. Yeah,
I see. But all the other things like liquor or tea bags,
that's
are
real.
these
Yeah.
things that you actually got there?
Yes, yes, yeah,
Hmm.
of course. Yeah. Always, even when I was a child, I already kept a holiday diary, and I would just collect all the labels and tickets and everything, with paper and pictures, and I would put them in my
Hmm.
travel diary. So it's what I did when I was in Germany at the time as well.
Hmm. I see. Very interesting. Um, you talked earlier about your early cartoons. I think maybe this is one of
The old,
your earlier books that you
yeah,
mentioned.
yes, I think that's the second one.
The
Yeah,
second,
yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
It's a collection of the comics, the autobiographical comics I made for
Hmm.
a magazine.
Yeah, yeah. It's like 2004, 2005.
Okay.
Um, these are autobiographical, but they are more cartoonish.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
they're more like little things that happen to me or that pops up in my head, and I just turned them into little funny stories that are meant to be
mhm,
sort of relatable. It's like
mhm.
is that a column? Is that the English word as well?
Yeah, like a, how do you
Um,
say,
like a little story in a
like
magazine.
like a daily or a no, it was Vara magazine probably. No,
Viva,
Viva,
Viva. Yeah,
Viva.
it's a
Mhm,
women's magazine for young women in Holland.
mhm. Uh, is it a monthly? I'm not sure.
No, weekly.
Weekly,
Yeah,
weekly. So this was a weekly comic strip,
yeah, yeah. And
and
I've done that
it
for almost 10 years.
mhm. And it was a bit before that webcomic hype, right? Or did
Yeah, the internet was still. This was from 2000 till 2009, something like that.
mhm,
So internet really wasn't a big thing at the time,
mhm,
and web comics were just starting off.
mhm. Now, in your current book, sometimes a colleague of yours appears, Floor.
Ah,
I'm thinking it's probably Flo de Goede.
yeah. Well, his full name is Floor, but
Yeah,
he calls
Floor.
himself Flo online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. How did he like being in your book? Because you're probably referencing your real conversations about your burnout.
Yeah, well, I've all the people that, or the most important people that in my book, I've showed them the comics before just to get their approval. Um, yeah, but I don't say anything negative about him, so he can't
Right.
complain.
Yeah, and he's quite a prolific comic author, artist himself. He's done like these little books, and he's done web
Yeah,
comics a lot. And his one graphic novel is really great as well. By the
yeah,
way, um, he's very much in web comics.
yeah.
Mhm.
Floor and we've known each other for, I think, um, yeah, I think 20 years. Well, yeah, I've known him since he was a little boy almost.
Funny.
Yeah, I think we've been friends for 20 years. So
Oh,
when he started out, he was drawing more like Disney style stuff, and then he also started doing autobiographical comics. So he stole everything from me.
yeah.
No, no, he merged everything into his own style. But
Yeah.
yeah, there was influence, I'm sure.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Is it a coincidence, or did you know each other from drawing?
Yeah, I at the time I had a comic studio. It was like a workplace, and there were, I don't know, I think like 5, 6 other comic artists there. And he was a 17-year-old boy and just walked into my shop one day and to show his comics, and there was actually a misunderstanding because we thought he wanted to join the studio, and he was just there to show off his comics to professional comic artists. So we said like, oh yeah, we like your work, and this is the what you have to pay every month, and welcome to the club. And he was like, oh, okay. And he was really shy, and he didn't want to say that he was just there to show his work. So then he became a part of the studio. Yeah.
Ah, Wow. So his work must have been convincing.
Yeah, he was really good. He's very
Hmm.
talented. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was already, we could tell. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
and he
As
still is. I always tell him that what he needs to improve on his art, but he's still very talented. He's really good.
yeah, I can absolutely confirm that from a simple reader's perspective. Absolutely. Um, he's also done autobiographical comics. He's done a daily webcomic and Ipe as well.
Mhm.
Ipe is
Yeah.
a photo comic artist. And what's up
Oh.
with that daily autobiographical comic thing? Why is it such a big thing among artists?
Mm, no, well, I wonder if your yeah, if your view is a bit skewed because you just named, I think, the only people who do that thing in Holland. So there might be a few others, but it's not really such a big thing
I
here.
see.
No.
So it's
Uh,
more
yeah.
like a niche.
Yeah, in the around 2000 I started doing that, and some other artists as well. And well, Floor then also started doing it, and then Ipe later came. But he does photos comics, so it's completely different.
Hmm.
And yeah, it became kind of like a genre, the autobiographical thing, but it's still a small part of the whole Dutch
Hmm.
comic industry. So yeah, there are a few others, but not
Hmm.
that much.
I see. Maybe I was a bit misled by social media as well.
Yeah, well, on Instagram at the moment, it's a really big thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, but it's just worldwide and happening in general,
Hmm.
especially with younger artists. And I think the Instagram format also really small stories, personal stories, relatable stories. Yeah, I like it. It's very nice that so many people are drawing comics and drawing comics about their own lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you like using Instagram for your comics? I'm asking because I'm thinking that it might be also limiting a bit because it's all squares, and then when you have stories, they
Mhm.
disappear. And is it limiting or is it an extra playing field for yourself?
Yeah, I don't. Somehow I picked the platform, and I noticed I started making comics, especially for Instagram, and I started thinking in how Instagram operates, and it's now I have the problem that I make comics for Instagram, and you can in Instagram you can swipe from picture to picture, and that's how I started thinking. And then I also want to post my comics on Facebook, but then I have to put them some, yeah, it's like, okay, now I have to put the three
Mm,
panels together, or some there are five panels. That's really horrible. Like how do you make that into a page? That's not nice, and it's different because if you see a whole page with many panels, you can see them all at once, and you can already get a clue. But if you have to swipe from panel to panel, that it's more of a surprise. So yeah, I started changing my way of storytelling to Instagram, and I like it actually. Yeah, it's a really nice, quick, easy way to tell
hmm
little stories, just a little thing, and just draw it on my iPad, and yeah,
hmm
it's completely different from the things I've done in my book, for example. But yeah,
hmm
I adapt to the new platform, I think. Yeah.
hmm And does that translate back into your work when it comes to books? Do you think it's going to influence your way of publishing as well?
Yeah, because I've drawn a lot of comics about Corona the past months.
Hmm.
Many people ask me like, "Oh, will you make a book of it?" And that question really surprised me because I didn't think of a book.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I think for me comics are communication. I want to tell stories. I want to reach out to readers. So at the moment, it's Instagram where I can reach a lot of people. So I
Hmm.
tell it in that way. And then, yeah, if I yeah, I never really planned to make a book. Also, with my previous books, they just happened. I was just drawing, and then suddenly, like, okay, just put them together and have them printed. But
Hmm.
yeah, I never really thought, okay, let's turn it into book. Yeah.
Yeah, I would read it. I would want to buy it. I would pay money for
Yeah,
it.
I might, and because I've drawn so much, so I could put them all to all. But then again, you have to put all those loose pages, all those loose panels on a paper, and they're meant to be on Instagram. But of
Uh-huh.
course, yeah, that's the not so nice thing of Instagram. It just disappears, or it doesn't really
Right,
disappear, but you can't keep it. And a book you can keep. But
right.
it's yeah, it doesn't matter that much to me. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Isn't it kind of like in the good old days of the newspaper strips?
yeah. Oh
They are
yeah,
meant,
yeah. It's the same, of course. You publish every day a comic. Yeah.
and then it's
And
gone.
people throw away the newspaper and that's it, but they enjoyed your comic for just a few seconds, minutes, and that's kind of the same like on Instagram. Yeah.
So maybe Instagram is the return of the newspaper strip in a digital
Mm. All
world.
right, I like that idea. Yeah, in a way. Yeah.
And then it all becomes books again, hopefully.
Yeah, well, there are, of course, there are collections of newspaper comics as well.
Hmm.
So, and there are collections of a lot of Instagram comics as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, so people can find you on Instagram. It's as easy as Maaike.Hartjes, or I think
Yeah.
if we just uh, type in your name, everyone can find you.
Yeah, if you follow
Um,
the hashtags, you can also find me.
yeah.
Yeah.
um, I would want to talk about a few earlier works of yours because, as you mentioned, you've done diaries a lot. You've done travel diaries a
Yeah.
lot. Maybe most notably one about South Africa and one that I found particularly interesting because it's so current all of a sudden again. It's about Hong
Yeah.
Kong.
Yeah.
And
It's really old. I think it's
yeah,
2005 or something
something
like
like
that,
that.
or
Yeah.
maybe older.
It says 2002, 3, and
Oh,
8.
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I got
2002. Yeah.
I got the
Yeah.
first print of 2008, but the stories are older,
Yeah.
probably. Um, I've been to Hong Kong several times for reporting, so that's why I found it particularly interesting. And I just love not only the stories, but that you throw in some of these landscapes.
Yeah. That's a drawing by Mark.
Ah,
Yeah.
this is by Mark,
Yeah.
your
Yeah. We made it
boyfriend.
together. Yeah.
Hmm.
We got an art grant to go to Hong Kong. That was the first time we went to Hong Kong.
Hmm.
And I had this romantic idea of us drawing together and making a book together. And
Ah,
Mark is my boyfriend, and he's also a comic artist, and he makes these wonderful drawings.
yeah.
And it didn't work at all because he has a very he thinks of it takes him more time to tell a story, and I just react to things that are happening. So
Hmm.
in the end, it became more my book where I used his drawings to tell our story. Yeah, it, yeah. We this is the only book we worked on together. We never done it again.
Interesting. Because your style is so different?
Yeah, we try to. I sometimes try to work in his style in this book, and also he tried to work a little bit in my style. So we had this idea that if the reader would read it, he would not know sometimes if the drawing was by me or by Mark, but
Ah,
you
I
can still
see.
tell. But
Ah, interesting. That's why I thought this is a very unusual
yeah, I
drawing of
didn't.
yours.
No, that's Mark. That's definitely all the watery, nice
Uh-huh.
drawings are by Mark. Yeah,
That's interesting. And it's also very recognizable. The landscapes, the skyline,
yeah,
for example, it
yeah,
hasn't changed a lot, but of course Hong Kong has changed a lot recently. So it's
yeah.
been a while that you've been there. How do you look back from today's perspective when you see maybe in the news this whole politicized society?
Mm.
Was there any of that back when you were there more than 10 years ago?
No, but the last time I visited was 4 years ago. But yeah, we have only contact with we have a very close friend that she's in the book as well, and we have another friend, and they aren't that politically interested. And I think that goes for a lot of Chinese people. They have this idea like, okay, politics, it's for the politicians, and yeah, whatever. So yeah, I think we of course we in here in West, we are, everybody is much more involved in politics. And yeah, what I've from what my experience has been, that not many people care about that. And of course many people in Hong Kong do care about it now. But I think maybe the older generations don't, it doesn't matter that much, as long as not too much changes for them personally. And
Hmm.
my friends, they, you know, they just go to their jobs, they just, their normal life just goes on, and just like always, and not much changes, except that there are riots every now and then. But yeah, they don't talk about politics either. No, so I can't really tell a lot. I don't know much about it, and I can't really say anything about it.
Hmm. But I would assume that it's apart from the politics and from the political side of things, it's probably always been this interesting, um, vibrant, ever-changing city. Did you experience it that way too?
Very commercial, most of all. That's
Yeah.
basically, that's mostly my impression. Yeah, it's very
Mm.
lively. Everybody's busy. It's very
Yeah.
safe. Um, yeah, and it's extremely commercial, and everybody's working hard to earn money. And there's so many shops, and they're building new things. And yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Now that it's changing so rapidly, would you want to go back to Hong Kong, or
Yeah,
are
yeah.
you done
Actually,
with
I
it?
would. Yeah, and also that's why I'm very reluctant to say much about it, because I really don't know much about it. But
Hmm.
it sounds really interesting, and I would like to experience to go there and experience it again, and
Hmm.
see if anything changes and how people feel about it. Yeah, so yeah, it's really it's very interesting. I would love to go back anyway, but yeah.
Hmm. What are you working on right now? I mean, you are probably staying away from anything that gives you a burnout, I would assume.
Yeah.
Um, are there any projects coming up? Are you still promoting your current book? What are you up to next?
Well, the wonderful thing that happened is that when my book was published, an animation studio picked it up. It's a small animation studio, and it just happens to be really close to my home as well. And they want to make an animation version of my book. So it will
All
be half an
right.
hour, and it will still be like 1.5 years before it's finished. But we're busy, very busy with production, and I'm the official art director of the movie. So
Ah,
I'm
nice.
making like stills and backgrounds, and trying to figure out how to translate the comic to animation. So that's what I'm
Ah,
working on at the moment, and it's really exciting, and yeah,
yeah.
it's wonderful to work on. Yeah.
It does sound exciting, and you can keep control of the story.
No, no, I can't.
You
And that's
can't.
that. No,
How's that?
they completely changed the story. I'm just there for the how it looks.
I
But
see.
it's also what I learned from my burnout is to let it go. So
I
I'm
see.
actually very excited to have made this book, and then to give it to the animation studio, and they just turn it into a little different story. And it's still my story, of course, but
Hmm.
they really made it. They changed some things, and they made up some things. And but yeah, I actually like it a lot that they used my work to create something else. And I really
Hmm.
like to see other artists doing that to my work. And yeah, so it's not
Ah,
my
yeah.
book anymore. It's not completely my work, but working with so many talented artists, it all comes together and creates something even more wonderful. And yeah, that's also what I really learned from my burnout, to yeah, not to have to keep control over everything.
Hmm. So it's being fictionalized a bit more?
Yeah,
Is that what's
yeah,
going to happen?
yeah. but
Very
it's mostly
interesting.
also to it's what my book does as well. It's to give more attention to burnout and maybe also to help people, yeah, that they feel like, okay, hey, I recognize this. Okay, am I getting into the danger zone? Or okay, now I understand what my partner had a burnout. Now I understand him or her a little bit better, something like that. So we really hope that the animation will also help a lot of people.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Is there a release date yet, or is it still in a very early stage
Yeah.
production?
I'm now making like stills, like I'm drawing scenes, and then animators will pick that up and work. But that's just the first step. The script has been done. We've made a storyboard, and we also have we have a lot of more plans. We also want to start some social media things. We maybe want to publish a diary you can fill in yourself, a paper book. And oh yeah, we want to make some kind of game that you can test how much you can get a burnout with animations. So we have a lot of plans. And besides the animations, it's a whole multimedia project. Um, yeah, but yeah, it's we still there's so much work still to be done, and we need more money
Hmm.
to just really to get animators to work. But so far it's going really well, and yeah, it will still take a lot of work, and it will still take some more time. So like 1.5 years, but
Hmm.
they've been telling me that for a year. So but I don't mind because it's so much fun to work on, and
Hmm.
such wonderful people. So yeah,
Yeah, so there is the next challenge right there already.
yeah. And yeah, and meanwhile, I'm also doing on my Instagram. I'm just making almost every day. I'm publishing a comic, and just yeah, it's really there's not much work at the moment, and so the pandemic isn't really nice for my wallet. But well, we'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, how is it for you working in times of the pandemic?
Well, I got corona, probably. I mean, I'm not really sure. So I'm still recovering a little bit
Oh,
from
really?
it. I'm a what they call a long hauler. So I had symptoms for a few months, but it's getting.
Oh,
I'm
goodness.
almost completely recovered again. Sometimes I feel a little bit more tired, but so yeah, the past months have been very inspirational with drawing comics about the pandemic and about Black Lives Matter and about all the other things. And but now I'm also drawing about just funny things. And yeah, I'm just taking it easy as well because my health is still a bit fluctuating, but
Yeah.
I'm almost back to normal. So yeah,
All the best for you in terms of health
thanks.
as well, of course. Yeah. And yeah, it's very impressive how you can get something positive out of
Yeah,
anything, basically.
yeah, it's my specialty, I think. Yeah, but not always. Yeah, I've been really sick before last years, and then I was really too sick to do anything. And
Yeah.
I would plan to do a diary about it as well, but I'm not sure if I'll ever. I got Lyme disease 2 years ago, so that's it's been a lot of
Oh,
bad
wow.
stuff recently,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm yeah, it's not the burnout was really good, and Corona is very inspirational, but not everything is.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay.
Sounds tough as
I'm a
well.
very positive person, so yeah, it's yeah. I'll turn everything. I'll turn bad things into good things somehow. I think. I hope.
Yeah. Sounds like that's your superpower. And you've got a very inspirational boyfriend as well. You mentioned him before. I just
Yeah.
happened, like, I haven't even realized when I got his book that he's your boyfriend. And
Oh,
as
wow.
and as we've shown a few books, let me show this as well. Just one moment. So this is a great coincidence, of course, as well. Uh, this is him, right?
Ooh. Yeah.
Mark
Yes.
Hendricks.
Yes.
When I got it, I didn't realize. You already mentioned that you differ, uh, the two of you differ a lot in style and in storytelling. And this one, for example, I found very Chinese in style,
Mm. Yeah.
if I may say so.
Yeah,
Is that fair to say?
he's been very inspired by Chinese art, and
Mm-hmm.
you have those little old books that are sort of like comic books, Chinese
Yeah.
comic books, really old ones, and there are some really nice samples and very interesting composition with a lot of empty spaces or just just a little scribbly line that suggests
Mm-hmm.
a mountain or something, and he's
Yeah.
been very inspired by those as well. Yeah.
Ah, like these history drawing books.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, also,
Yeah.
yeah, and very
And
folk tales and
yeah.
that kind of things. Yes.
And his characters look a bit like those historic ones,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
That's
He
very
also
neat.
draws with those Chinese brushes and very. He works really fast and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he's not the kind of person who just spent hours on a drawing and making it very detailed. He just works with yeah, big strokes and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And but his work is his stories are completely different from mine, or we work in such different ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's also a big part of your burnout diary, of course, and very supportive. And yeah, it's been 20 years, I guess. How is it live to live in with another cartoonist
uh,
for
yeah,
20
it's
years?
I always imagine that people think that we are talking about comics all the
Yeah.
time, and we hardly do. No,
Oh,
we
really?
hardly ever do. We talk about a million other things, but not much about our art. And no, because I think maybe because we know each other from comics, but our work is so completely different.
Mm-hmm.
And I sometimes I wonder if we never met, if I would even like his comic, or I don't think he would like my work. I think
Why not?
I might like his work. I think yeah, it's because it's so good. But of course, because yeah, he likes my work because there's so much because it's my work. But if we if he hadn't known me, I'm not sure. Um, so I think we both make very personal work, the kind of work that we just want to make ourselves, not for commercial things. And we both make comics because we want to tell stories, and that goes for him as well. That he's interested in history, so he reads a lot of historical books, and then makes some kind of fictional story about it, and that's what he draws. And he makes like these big graphic novels of 200 or 300 pages.
Mm-hmm.
So it's yeah, and it's all fiction, and it goes really slow. More his stories, or the stories he makes. It takes some months or years sometimes to grow in his head with all the information that he puts in there. So it's completely different from my work because I see, I think, and I draw. I react very. It's more yeah, it's very direct way of working, and he has a very indirect way of working.
Mm-hmm. I see. Now, there's another thing I could learn from you. Don't talk about work too much with your partner.
No, it's not. I think if you have the same kind of work or same kind, yeah, if you, I wouldn't don't mind talking about my work, but yeah, it's we I don't think we aren't very interested in technique or something. So
Hmm.
it's not like, oh, what kind of pen do you draw with and what kind of ink are you using? It's that we don't have talk like that.
I see.
um yeah, so yeah, no, we just have our own way of working, and we share so many other things, and comics are just a small part of our lives.
Hmm. Well, thank you so much. That was something like 20 years of comic art in 50 minutes. Thank you very, very
I think
much.
so, yes.
It's been a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to seeing the animated movie and all the diaries to come. But for now, of course, we can highly recommend the Burnout Diary. It's available online, but it's also available at any good bookstore. I got mine, for example, at Lambiek in Amsterdam.
Yeah. Okay.
But in Stuttgart, we have Super Juju and other stores where you can buy books. Where do you buy books?
Lambiek. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I also order online, but then I always feel guilty. So I
Yeah,
always go to Lambiek and I ask them to, or I should do that more often. Yeah,
yeah.
and just ask them to
Mhm.
order something for me.
Hooray
Support your
for
local bookshops.
exactly. Hooray for
Yes.
comic book stores.
Yeah.
Maaike Hartjes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Marcus.